Hey, Tum. Here we go. This is the good stuff. Hey, everybody. So, for this week, I wanted to do something a little different. Still going to have tons of cool interviews coming up, plenty more where that came from. But I always wanted to do more than just the interviews on the show. I wanted to introduce my shelf as well. That's coming pretty soon. I'm going to do a big thing where I go through my whole collection. This is just part of it. But I wanted to do something that piggybacks a little bit on what is by far my most popular video, which is the interview with Colin Greenwood. That brought in a lot of Radiohead fans, as I hoped and expected. And it seems like because I have a lot of people now who are subscribers who love Radiohead and Thom Yorke related projects, and because, quite frankly, I am such a Thom Yorke nerd, that it might be a good opportunity to go through the catalog of The Smile. I saw some people posting online recently ranking all of the Smile songs, everything on the first three albums, and I thought I actually have a list of that already, which is kind of hilarious. This is what I do in my spare time. When I'm not already writing about music, I'm writing about music. I'll just give you my personal ranking, and I won't say from worst to best because I don't think that's true. I don't think they've had any bad songs, but let's just say least awesome to most awesome. Let's get this going. Before I do that, though, just showing you again, these albums are just so beautiful, just as physical pieces of art. You'll notice I actually have not even opened Wall of Eyes yet. It's just I've been listening to the CD primarily. But these things are so great. I also have the one of the live EPs floating on the shelf somewhere, but couldn't find it in time. So let's start this off. So we have 31 songs, 31 studio recorded Smile songs. And no, I'm not counting the other stuff that they've done live that has not, like covers and all that stuff. That is not part of the collection of songs that I'm talking about today. So number 31, I would say the least awesome, is a song off of the second album, Wall of Eyes, and it's called I Quit. I just never really connected with this one all that much. To me, it feels like a really interesting, cool B-side. It's almost like something from the Amnesiac Kid A era of Radiohead that it's one of those great B-sides that you love listening to. And because it's a B-side, you root for it even more, you like it even more. But on an album, it would feel a little bit more slight compared to the other songs. And that's how I feel about I Quit. I think it's an interesting idea. I love the strings. And I think it has a nice texture, a nice mood, but it just doesn't go anywhere to me. It just kind of sits in the space. That sort of choppy acoustic guitar thing that they've manipulated in the studio never really grabbed me a whole lot. And the vocal melody is just sort of there, doesn't really move the song forward a whole lot. You know, it's number 31. For number 30, I'm going back to Wall of Eyes for the title track. Don't Kill Me. I know a lot of you probably adore Wall of Eyes. It wouldn't shock me if some of you had it in your top five or 10. It's just never really resonated that much with me. Again, I think it's beautiful. It's got kind of that 21st century Thom Yorke acoustic guitar finger picked pattern. It's nice. The orchestration's beautiful. My favorite moment in the entire song is around 26 seconds in, just the descending Wall of Eyes line. I initially thought, oh my God, this is going to be one of my favorite Smile songs, but it just never really matches the potential of what I think it could be. Okay, for number 29, going with Cutouts and the song Tiptoe. It's not an interlude. I think that would be insulting to call it an interlude, but it feels a lot more of a low stakes kind of track. I think it's a cool idea. Clearly, they took what sounds to me like a piano recording, almost like it was on an iPhone or something, or just it's just such a kind of lo-fi recording. And then to build a song around that with those strings, the strings elevated into something much grander than I would think it would have been just hearing the initial piano part. It doesn't feel like it earns its place on the track list to me with the amount of songs we have here. If this were a double album, I don't think I would have the same opinion of it. I probably would think, oh, it creates part of the mosaic, but something about it occupying a place on this album, which I adore. Some of you might have seen my review of Cutouts for AV Club. I love this album. Compared to everything else, it has to be, I think, at that spot. Number 28. Again, some of you will probably crucify me for this one, but you will never work in television again. This was never a favorite of mine from the initial, I think it was 8 songs that the Smile played during the Glastonbury live stream. It's again, I like it. It's sort of like a Body Snatchers light to me. It, I love that it has that kind of post-punky energy, the cool time signature. It just doesn't have a melody really. So number 27, going with a song from Cutouts called Colors Fly. I loved the song when they did it live. They'd been playing it for months before it was recorded. I thought it had so much energy, intensity. I love the sort of Eastern inspired guitar part. And it just, I expected it to be this major epic on the album. And it just feels like it doesn't really live up to how it was done live. It feels a little flat to me. It's still a great song. The ideas are all there, and I enjoy listening to it, but it just doesn't reach what I hoped it would. From Attention, the same. Opens the album with some cool color. I love the synthesizer. It just doesn't build into a climax that really sets it apart. Good song, but one of my least favorites on this album. Waving a White Flag. I wrestled a little bit with this because it was initially my least favorite song on the debut. Sort of rambled a little bit. It's grown on me a lot. There was a point in time where I probably would have put this toward the bottom of this list. Now I think it's a lot more interesting. I love that sort of jagged, slowly kind of saunters into something. Still not in the top tier or even probably the second tier for me, but if I do this list again in 6 months, it might be up to number 18 or something. Back to Cutouts for, and I'd say this is probably a consensus pick here. Don't Get Me Started. Another one where I loved this song live. I watched the YouTube clips of the song, which arguably I shouldn't be doing because there's an expectation of what it's going to sound like. But I love the way it sounded live. I love the build, very hypnotic with those synths. And I love what Skinner is doing on the drums. I think the album version is a little more subdued. The drums don't hit you with the same force. And I think that's probably why this is where it is on my list. I think if the recording had turned out a little bit different, it might be in the 15 or so range. But for now, that's where it is. I wrestled with this one a lot too. When I first heard Wall of Eyes, I think because, like most fans, I knew almost the entire album by the time it came out. I was really excited by You Know Me because I hadn't heard the song and I thought it was so beautiful. And I still think it's really beautiful. Now we're to the point where I adore all of these songs. So this is a tough one for me to even say it is in the spot that it is. I love how it ends the album with this sort of hushed moment. It's almost like a solo Thom song in a way, although of course I don't know who did what on the recording. It reminds me a lot of 4 Minute Warning, the Radiohead B-side. Well, if you want to call it a B-side. Similar kind of melody and vibe. It stirred me up when I first heard it. I actually teared up. I absolutely love You Know Me, but God, compared to what comes after, maybe it's the fact that it doesn't have the full band kind of presence on it. It is, again, it is what it is. For Foreign Spies. I've seen a lot of hate for this song on Reddit and the Facebook groups and everything. I don't know why. I think it's a beautiful track, and I think this if this were a Radiohead song, people would absolutely love it. It has kind of a Vangelis quality to it, which I think is fascinating. The synths and the sort of almost cheesy, but not quite vibe of the production and the synth tones themselves. Again, I think it's a great song and it's number 22. So what are you gonna do? Friend of a Friend. This seems painful. I love this song. How's it number 21? That's wild. It's a almost quirky song for them. It seems strange that they even recorded it. It's so major key, it's so bright and bouncy, but I love how it kind of goes back and forth between these different feels rhythmically, and it's so different for them. Going to Attention for Free in the Knowledge. They don't have a whole lot of ballads in the catalog, so it's nice to have one of those. The vocals gorgeous. I respect the lyrics and how sort of direct they are, and I love the build. I love that the drums and bass come in so late. It's a really interesting production on it. Everything about the song is great. The only thing, I think the reason I have it where it is, someone didn't ruin the song for me. I still think it's a great song. But when they planted the seed in my head, it's been impossible to get it out. And so if you don't want me to potentially put a really weird thing in your head, maybe skip past this point, 30 seconds. There's a portion of the song, it's when the drums and bass kick in, when Thom sings about the face in the mirror. It's the sort of cadence that he uses and the sort of face in the mirror thing that kind of reminds me of that Michael Jackson song, Man in the Mirror. And yeah, I can't unhear that. So Attention again, this one, a hairdryer. I have no idea why they titled this song a hairdryer. I don't really care. I like a little nonsense. I don't know why it does not me though. Like why? But anyway, great song. Again, kind of an Eastern sort of build to this one. Beautiful production. Skinner's drums are just on point on this song. Dude's incredible. It even opens up more live, I think. But yeah, really good song. Going to Cutouts for Instant Psalm. Struggle with this one a lot. When I first heard the live version, man, I played it to death. I love what they did with it on stage. Thom playing electric guitar. A lot of people were comparing it to early-ish Radiohead, and I could understand why. There's sort of a emotional hugeness to it that came across on stage. And it's a totally different vibe with that electric guitar. And then what they do with it in the studio, with the acoustic, with the strings. When I first heard it, I think I was disappointed because I just wanted the live version. And again, that's cautionary tale. Maybe don't listen to the live stuff or don't get attached to it. Don't play it to death. But it was hard for me to really latch onto this one. Eventually, I have come around to it. I think it's beautiful. And actually, I'm kind of happy to have this version of it because I can always listen to the live version. Got kind of two takes on it. But that's where it kind of lands for me. Back to Attention for the opposite. Again, this one seems like, how is this not in the top 10? Funky as hell. Absolutely love it. But I think it's something about the melody. It's kind of a melody that just sort of follows the groove. There's a lot of effects. Again, I almost kind of prefer the live version at times. But man, that's a tough one. That the guitar and bass are so good, and those drums with those big open toms. Power trio stuff. Panavision. This is, I think, one of my wife's absolute favorite Smile songs, so she'll probably think this is weird. I put it in the middle of the pack, but that's where it feels right to me. One thing that's always disappointed me, again, this is a motif here. When I first heard the version with, I think it's the Rhodes, it's electric piano, kind of fell in love with that sort of glassy, jazzy quality that the electric piano has. And then when I heard the acoustic piano, I was a little disappointed by that. I think I just liked some of the vocal phrasing of the live version better. But great song though. The way it sort of creepy, crawly twists and turns, super, super cool. Bending Hectic from Wall of Eyes. This is a super divisive song. You guys have probably noticed that. When they played it live originally, it was an instant fan favorite, and it was definitely that way with me. I listened to it so many times. It's genius, Jonny bending the strings to this impossible level. I don't know how he didn't just break a string every single time he performed the song. Is there footage of that? Did he ever do that? I'm curious. And it's just an epic. I love that they went all out with it. The sort of shoegazy, heavy stoner rock ending to this song is incredible. The reason it is where it is on my list is because I don't really like what they did with the studio version at the end of the song. I think the production is weird on the song. It sounds so muddy to me. The drums sound so distant. It doesn't have that visceral impact of the live version. So for that reason alone, it is, what is it, 15. Otherwise, this would probably be like a top 9, 8 kind of song. I feel like we're officially in just the amazing, amazing section. I don't even know. It's very difficult to differentiate at this point. 14, Bodies Laughing from Cutouts. In the complete opposite scenario to what I just described, this one completely grew on me. When I heard Bodies Laughing in its original form, when they played it, I think on the very first real tour, if I'm not mistaken, I just did not like it. It was the only Smile song I was like, I don't like this. It was so flimsy. The guitar was just kind of corny. Thom, very cool that he's playing the Ed O'Brien Strat, but that guitar solo is so just cringy to me. Felt like it didn't know where it was going. And then they completely revamped this thing and made it incredible. The acoustic guitar was a great choice. Those kind of low growling backing vocals on it. The arrangement with the drums coming in a little later. Just every move they could have made was perfect on this one. Back to cutouts for The Slip. I struggle with this. I could have put this one much higher. I think it is so fun. Another one that seems so divisive amongst fans, but I think it's great. It's funky, it's weird, kind of proggy. Jonny's really just going nuts on the guitar. I don't know why fans aren't just eating this up. He's getting back into like go to sleep Radiohead territory on the guitar on this one. Drums are great. It moves. It's always bringing in new colors and textures. I got no comment, no negative thoughts about it. Go to attention for Skirting on the Surface. This, if I'm remembering this correctly, the very first Smile song anyone ever heard, because they played it on the live stream, very first song of the set. Radiohead fans will know that this has been in the mix for a long time. They even played a different version of it live with Radiohead, just sounds completely different. But I mean, this one is just haunting. The video is also incredible. The time signature, I should have looked this. I can't even remember what it is. It's just bizarre. It just sort of feels like falling down the stairs, but it just melds together in this psychedelic way. The vocals, just, oh man, it's absolutely perfect. And it's what, number 12? How is this possible? Now I'm starting to get a little bit of remorse. Should I have flipped Surface and this one? I don't know. I'm gonna stick with it. I already committed. Number 11, Open the Floodgates. Another one that has been in Thom Yorke's life for many years. And I was nervous. I thought, are they going to do this thing justice on the album? They absolutely did. I don't even know what else to say. It really lived up to the hype of what it could have been. The synths, the guitars, Thom's vocal. He still sounds so agile. No notes, no words. I would make a bad joke there. I'm not going to do it. Yeah, I'm not going to do it. Anyway, a lot of fans were so intrigued by this one because it is, again, one of the few songs that fans had not heard by this point. Most of the album had been played live. This one is just so cool. The intro almost has a King Crimson from the 80s kind of quality to it, where you're like, is that a synth, a guitar? I'm not sure. And it just opens up and builds into this. I think I use the comparison of like driving down the highway at night in my review. Kind of makes me think of like Lost Highway, the David Lynch movie. I just picture the headlights and it's creepy and intense and perfect. Take a look under our pillows. I think this will be a controversial pick just because I don't think everyone's going to agree with me on this one, but I think it's one of those classic Jonny using the delay pedal and doing proggy, weird, cool stuff. This is so up my alley. It's just, this is catnip for me. Love how it builds. I love how it gets all spacey and psychedelic when it sort of collapses in on itself at the end. It's almost like two songs kind of mashed together. And it gets kind of krautrocky there at the end too. So good. Speech bubbles. Thinking back to it again, should I have flip-flop the last two? I don't know. But Speech Bubbles, an amazing ballad. I remember when we heard sort of expanded repertoire after that initial live stream when they were playing those other shows. I thought, are they going to have enough stuff to fill this thing out? And I heard Speech Bubbles, like, oh my God, so good. The beautiful, beautiful vocal, the melody is just haunting. If you compare, which is really not fair, but if you compare Freeing the Knowledge with Speech Bubbles, which to me are like the two kind of classic style ballads on this album, it's no comparison. The Smoke from Attention. It's been one of my favorites since day one. So funky. There's almost like a sort of Afrobeat thing happening with the drums and the rhythms. I love playing this song on bass. It's one of my favorite bass songs to play. The timing is so interesting and sort of how it just kind of loops in this really unique way. Lyrics are fascinating too, sort of touching on environmental stuff. Back to Wall of Eyes for Read the Room. I remember when this one was called It. When they debuted it live, I still remember thinking like, why? Is this somehow related to the horror movie? Did Thom just have no clue what to title the thing? I was glad when they retitled it Read the Room, but the way this one is so slow and lumbering and like just heavy and nasty. That riff is one of my favorite riffs of the last, I don't know how many years. We don't know what tomorrow brings. To me, this is like the pop song of the entire Smile catalog, which is kind of weird because it's kind of a post-punky type song. But man, that synth, that sort of creepy horror movie synth, the sort of hooky, aggressive quality of that chorus. Yeah, I don't even know what else to say. It's an absolute perfect song. We're back to Wall of Eyes or Teleharmonic. Sexy.
Ooh
Am I
la
allowed to
la.
call this song sexy? Is that weird? It is, though. Thom's vocal on this, it might be the best vocal of the entire Smile catalog for my money. Just really gorgeous. The synths, the bass. Oh man. And I'm just gonna list instruments now. Drums, also great. It's sexy. I'm just gonna stop there. Had to do it. Cutouts, zero sum. A lot of people probably put this at number one, and I wouldn't blame them for 1 second. I thought about it. Oh, it's so good. It's just as long as it needs to be. It's super short. It is just spiraling out of control, just pure chaos with Johnny's delay guitar stuff. I mean, the Windows 95 thing is just, it's spawned a million memes at this point. It's almost become ingrained in, I think, the lexicon of Radiohead, Smile, Yorke, lore. It's disjointed and out of control and manic and wild, but everything is exactly where it needs to be. From Attention, Thin Thing. This was by far my song of the year when this came out. I saw Smile live I've seen them live twice now. Once in Asheville, North Carolina. Heart goes out to Asheville, by the way. But I saw them in Asheville and the AC was malfunctioning. There was something going on and everyone was just dripping with sweat. And it was pretty miserable in there. We were just fanning ourselves and downing water. Even hearing it in that format was incredible, but really the one that cements it for me was hearing them at the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville. And when they played this song, I'll never forget I just felt like I was about to bounce out of my seat. I was so excited. I still think probably, even though I'm putting this at number two, I think the studio version gets you 90% of the way there to what they do live. There is a certain weird choppiness to the way it feels kind of pasted together to me. Certain sections are, you've probably noticed, a little sloppy and the timing is a little odd, but it's all part of the experience. The song is just so good. Again, Johnny's guitar stuff, the drums are so fun to drum to. Probably my favorite Thom lyrics in a long, long time. They're just, I don't even know what's happened. The mushroom stuff, I don't know. I'm not even gonna try to decipher it. It's just beautiful as it is to me. They played it during that live stream, the very first time we ever met the Smile. And I think for a lot of fans, I've looked at enough Reddit threads at this point to know that a lot of people agree with me. Like, when are they going to record this thing? When are they going to release it? It didn't come out on attracting attention, and I was heartbroken. Oh man, I even tweeted about it. Couldn't believe it. And then it doesn't come out in the second album. I started reading stuff where people talked to Thom after shows and said, "What's going on with this song? Why didn't you record it? Why didn't you put it on the album?" And he would say, "Oh, we're still figuring it out. We're still working on it." But I got a little pessimistic because, as a lot of you know, Thom tends to keep songs around for years and years. I thought we might never get a version of this. Still waiting on Cut a Hole, by the way. But we finally got it, and it was worth the wait. It is no longer called just Eyes and Mouth. It is just Eyes and Mouth. I didn't think they could improve upon the live version, and I was a little worried because when they switch from electric piano on stage to acoustic piano, sometimes I get nervous. I love the electric piano. They went to the acoustic, and it did not change my opinion at all. And again, they managed to elevate this thing. I was so attached to every little nuance of how Thom sang that melody on stage, particularly in the Glastonbury stream, that I thought, oh, I've really done myself in here because no matter what he does, I'm going to be disappointed. No, I actually think he sang it better. How he slips into the falsetto at times, gorgeous. The bass, now there's actual bass guitar on this thing, which is adding a whole new texture to it. And then the backing vocals and the sort of choral effect that comes in deep into the song. Clearly, they did work on this thing a lot. So Thom was not lying, and it's an absolute masterpiece. So that's my list. That's my ranking from 31 to 1. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you agree, I'm sure you're going to disagree. Go ahead. You can rip this to shreds, but post your list. If you have complaints, let's see, show your work. Let's see what you think about this. And as always, thanks for watching. See you next time.